Well, who's the? I remember the scene where the female character hands the young soul, the boy's soul, a candle to take to the other world before he goes through the gates. It's like it's around the womb scene, like when he is in the womb with the water room, like the floating teddy bear. There's a scene with the young child, like which I take to be Jack. This is before he's born. He's talking about his parents having him being born.
Right.
He's a boy, and this female character dressed in white hands him a candle or a flame, and he takes it. And then one of the next shots is like it almost looks like an Eastern thing. I don't know if it's Buddhist or what, but it's like a gateway, and he goes through. And I think the next scene is him being born. I took that as like him as a consciousness, like receiving a soul that was like assigned to him or something. And he looks at the same flame on the counter later.
Yeah,
And
what is
that
the
lady is
flame?
also the lady is also on. I think that's his soul, but I don't know.
The lady?
No, the
Reincarnate.
lady. I don't know if it's God or some sort of spirit or something, but she's also on the beach and gives the son back to the mom. So that would point to her being God. But I don't. That's a little too specific for a movie like this too.
Yeah, I don't. I mean, it's framed in that context, the context of the Judeo-Christian God, but I don't think it's about. I don't think it's about that.
I think it's like I think it's I would think it's almost like a playthrough of the idea of it without it being like literally that. Like I hope that it's this. I hope I get to see the people I love again, maybe through the spirit of grace. Like I will believe that, but I don't know. It's not. It doesn't seem like it's literal, but I'm not exactly sure what it is. It's just like a kind of a cathartic point in the movie. So I'm not really sure. I just wanted
Yeah.
to know what you thought.
Yeah, I was thinking about it too. I mean, I've been thinking about it for a while. The takeaway I had was, it's by the sea, and the sea is where we came from as a species, probably, and I mean, that's where life began, and so that is the source of life.
That's where it will
in
go.
a sort of deeper sense. It's the source of life, and so, it's the ultimate. I don't know.
You should.
There's
You
immensity,
should
and
watch.
there's the sea, and its bigness, and it's the sort of calling back to the scene of creation. It's where we come from, and it's sort of the going back to the idea of Joe being acceptance of this vastness in our.
Yeah, I'd be curious for you to watch the scene with the kid getting the candle again, just to see what you think of that.
Yeah.
I think it's in the pre-birth sequence.
Isn't that right by the scene where he comes out of his room underwater? and
Yes, I think
goes
it's
up
right
toward the
before that.
surface?
Like, so that's what I was saying. I think he's like being assigned either a consciousness or a soul. He goes through these gates, and then he's born, which is the scene with the water.
Okay, I'll have to watch that again.
Which, it's weird. I don't know, but
That's
I'm glad you liked the movie. I was worried that you wouldn't like it or something. But
No, I agree with you.
Sounds like you liked it.
No, I do like it. It's not one of those movies that I'd watch every day.
See, I don't either, and even it's like probably one of my favorite movies, but I don't watch it very often. I like knowing that it's there, and I like knowing I can watch it.
Right.
And I've enjoyed the times that I have, but it's
One of those.
too much almost.
It's an
too
experience.
dense. Yeah.
Well, it's the most of that density is in the childhood part because it's so visceral and it calls to mind. It's so real.
Well, it's like
as
you don't
real as
look
any
through-
film could be about
You don't
childhood.
look through your family photos and cry every day, right? Nobody does that.
That's a very good. That's a very good way to say it. I think.
Why would you? Why would you want to do that?
Yeah. Yeah.
We're all trying to pretend that none of this stuff ever happened, and we're just perfectly normal people.
Yeah, we haven't reached our midlife crisis.
That's what
yet.
humans do, right? Yeah.
Yeah, give me another 10
Actually-
years.
I'm hoping that my life was like a early life crisis, and I eventually it'll become normal.
You're gonna, yeah, okay. You've been on the other,
Normalcy in
you've
middle age,
you've
yeah.
swung the other way. I see.
Yeah, I'm starting in the pits.
Yeah, I don't know. The end scene is hard to get exactly what. There are so many. I think there are so many possible ways to interpret it that it almost seems pretentious to try. It's a scene by the sea where he's meeting everybody that he loves who's around him, and so that's the meaning that he has. The sea is immense, but it's also the source of life. It's on the border between
right.
the land and the sea is maybe a place
It's
where
got to be in his head though. Now that I'm thinking of it, because he's there older and younger, right?
yes, that's right.
So
I also think that the discussion of what's in his head and what's not is also not that interesting. You know what I mean?
That's
It's not that
true.
important.
Yeah, it doesn't
He was
really
okay.
matter.
Well, no, which one was he imagining when he's sitting in his
Yeah.
office and on the elevator? That
Well,
shut up,
that's
yeah,
exactly what the movie's not about. Yeah.
yeah. That's hardly the point.
Well, yeah, unless it's something really specific. This is what this real. But I guess what it really means too is probably not what the movie's about. So shouldn't nail anything down too specifically. It's more of a experience to make you think about your own philosophy, I think.
Yeah, maybe
He
that's
he
what it is.
he
Yeah.
presents his philosophy in the movie because that's what it means to him, and you can tell there's like sections that do. But yeah, I think a lot of it maybe is to pull your own feelings out. Ugh.
Well, maybe that then so the sea and the place between the land and the sea could act as a sort of canvas for you to, yeah, as you're saying, sort of print on your meaning
That's
without.
still an awfully lot. That's still pretty specific. I mean, well,
Yeah.
yeah. I mean, I guess that the sea must mean something. What does it mean, Terrence
Well,
Malick?
so the Axis Mundi thing, the Axis Mundi has been is a concept in myth. It's the
Tell
source
me
of.
about it, because I'm not familiar with that so much.
So it's the it could be the tree of life. It could be the tree that Odin is hung on. The symbolism of a tree is often what it's represented as, but sometimes it's a beam or a ladder or a post or a mountain. Sometimes it's the point at which the eternal meets the terrestrial. It's the point at which it's the origin of life, the beginning point, the
Okay.
center of life. So you could see it as Odin on the world tree, sacrificing himself to himself. You could see it as Christ on the cross,
Hmm.
sacrificing himself for all of humanity. You could see it as the Buddha sitting under the Bodhi tree, attaining enlightenment and providing a path for everyone else after him to follow, so that they can attain the same thing.
Hmm.
I mean, it's called the Tree of Life, and so you could say that is strictly the Garden of Eden, but you could also say, in a broader sense, the Tree of Life is where the human domain of sort of common, ordinary life meets this sort of grand, incomprehensible cosmic sphere, and the point at which they meet are maybe finding meaning and love, and that's the sort of the crux of it. But also, it could be the beach between the land and the sea. Maybe the sea is the incomprehensible, and the land is the place where life happens. And it could also be the father and the mother. The mother is sort of the source
Yeah.
of life, and the
Now
father
that
is the
I'm
order. So
thinking about it, just that this might help your story here.
not a story.
As
I'm
far
just
as
trying
this-
to.
No, no. I mean, I'm
just
saying
trying to
your
spew out a
case
few
for it,
things.
your case for it being the Axis Mundi
Yeah.
that you're mentioning, because I wasn't familiar really with using it that way. But in have you seen the New World, the Pocahontas movie that you
Yeah.
made? Okay,
Yeah.
remember the end of the movie when she dies? The last shot of the movie is, I think, her going back on the ship, but it's the ship disappearing into the horizon from the harbor.
Mhm.
So it's once again like a scene of an ocean, and like the character is, I guess, going out of frame into the horizon of the ocean. I don't know. I'm just saying he's used that image before.
The elves leaving Middle Earth to go back to
Oh
Valinor.
yeah. Well, I mean, just the
Same.
whole concept, like from a European perspective, the New World is across this water. It's kind of an Axis Mundi for the old, probably Western European mindset.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. And you could also see it as, and that could tie back to the male female or the masculine feminine thing of Europe is the place where culture has happened, and so that's where order is, and the New World is this place of chaos but also possibility.
Yeah, I think it could mean a lot of different things. I guess there's different things in the movie. Like they have like when they look up in the church, it has the Fibonacci sequence spiral or whatever, the um, Fibonacci spiral.
Mm.
So there's just a lot of elements in there. I don't know what they specifically mean, but I like that. That sounds good to me.
The spiral is also an ancient sort of archaic symbol that has been used throughout all of human history to represent the source of life, or the place where life.
I mean, I'm sure
comes
that's
from.
why it was used in the church in the first place, right?
Yeah.
The people that designed the church likely did the shape for a reason.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.